second You, Me, and Stephen King. I'm Justin Jones, your host, and Bridget, aka Fidget, is here.
Hey,
as usual.
as usual.
The two shows that we've done. The one show. Is it a show? I don't know.
We're just here for ourselves.
All right, so from this point forward, you should know that you're going to be watching / listening to, because with your imagination, you'll be watching us talk in my bedroom.
Let me just add also, we are sitting on the floor. We don't have like professional desks. Justin's microphone is attached to his bed frame, and we're crisscrossed.
Anyway, so from this point forward, you should understand that we might be using explicit language because we're really casual with each other when we talk. Also, you should probably understand that you're going to be hearing a lot of Stephen King spoilers, because that's kind of what this show is about. It's a review show, and we just talk about our feelings and our thoughts and all of those good things. We recently read Salem's Lot.
Book number 2.
Yeah, short for Jerusalem's Lot. The people who live in that town, for some reason, decided to shorten it, which is really just Stephen King decided to shorten it.
And make the spelling super hard to do when you're typing in the stupid apostrophe thing.
Yeah. Oh, okay, so yesterday we got together, watched the movie from 1979. Is it 1979?
Yeah, 1979.
Yeah, so we watched the movie, and that was pretty interesting, but usually we try to do some themed food, some themed drinks and such. And if you do feel like drinking, whether it's alcoholic or non-alcoholic, I'm currently not drinking alcohol. Bridget's currently not drinking alcohol. We're going strong. I think it's been like 25 days. But anyway, so I created this drink, and it's 3 splashes of tomato juice, cranberry grape juice, and 5 maraschino
More sugar.
cherries in the bottom with ice. But if you're going for alcoholic, I would encourage vodka.
Encourage. I too encourage vodka, even without the drink. That's also why we're doing the challenge.
Yeah, because we drink too much.
Hi.
Okay, so yeah, let's just jump into Salem's Lot. I don't know if you noticed this, but on one of the early pages, I wish I could find a page. Let me find the page really quick. Let's see which page it is. Yeah, it's page 22. It's like really early on, but Stephen King mentions in passing Chamberlain, Maine. Did you notice that?
Yeah, because that was in Carrie, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's where Carrie was.
Oh, fuck yeah. Oh, I've already forgotten.
Isn't that crazy?
That is, okay.
So,
yeah.
in my mind, let's start it off and just assume that every Stephen King book happens in the same universe.
Also, on page 22, I wrote a note. I forgot about this. I thought they were called goose pimples.
What is it called?
When he was saying, like, he had goose skin, I was like, isn't that
goose flesh.
pimples?
Yeah, I always heard goose bumps.
I thought they were goose pimples. But anyway, that's my one takeaway from that.
From that specific page. Okay, so, yeah, I guess we can start with, other than that weird segue of saying that all of these things are connected. But let's just jump in. I wrote a little tiny summary like last time. Let's laugh at me and my writing and all of those good things. The book opens on a nameless man and a young boy, clearly not his son, traveling on their way to Mexico. While they travel, they collect newspaper clippings of the mysterious empty town of Jerusalem's Lot. When they get to Mexico, they decide it's time to return to Salem's Lot to face the evil they left behind. Now, jump back in time to the actual opening of the book. Just a little ways down the road from Chamberlain, Maine, Ben Mears, a writer, visits his childhood town, Jerusalem's Lot, in hopes of writing his next mysterious novel. He wants to stay in the Marston house, a house riddled with dangerous dark energy, a house that still haunts his nightmares. He soon learns that someone has purchased the house and that he has to stay in a small room in a tavern-esque lodge instead. While visiting, Ben falls for a young woman, one of his fans, named Susan Norton, and the moment he gets cozy and everything starts making sense to him, darkness overtakes the town. Rumors spread throughout the town, a boy vanishes, which reminds the locals of a fire long, long ago that left the town almost lifeless. More people begin to vanish, things go bump in the night, and the dark of the Marston house exudes its nebulous tendrils, consuming the minds and destroying the families of the townspeople. Ben goes on the hunt for truth, and along the way he makes friends with an elderly schoolteacher named Matt, a doctor type named Jimmy, a Catholic priest named Callahan, and a young boy named Mark. Yeah, so does that sound, accurate? Do you think that I missed anything?
Susan.
Oh.
You missed Susan.
Well, I mean, I mentioned her as the love interest. Would you consider her a part of the posse? Like, the crew?
I thought she was ridiculous.
I was actually going to ask you how you felt about Susan.
I don't care for Susan.
Oh,
and
okay.
I found her... Should we just dive right into it?
Yeah,
Because I
let's
have a
just go
lot to
for it.
say about her. First off,
I spilled my coffee.
she, just like Carrie in the first book, I don't know what it is with Stephen King and how he writes, like, the women. And some of these, they always have really weird relationships with their mothers.
Yeah.
And I felt that she was emotionally immature. Or maybe that's just me. I don't typically take a guy to my parents' house the first night I meet him.
Oh, right. Well, I don't know. I get where you're coming from, but also I was thinking, well, maybe she was just a fangirl at first, and then all of a sudden they just jump into these feelings.
That might have been it, but I didn't care for that character at all.
Mm.
She annoyed me.
That's fair.
I'm annoyed by this book so much. Can we just start off by saying, like, how
Yeah,
much
go for it.
I struggled with this book before we get into it? Because, like, I'm ready to break it down because it took 2 weeks of me dedicating 2 hours of my night and having to go back and reread things because I keep forgetting who characters are. There's, like, at the very beginning, I like the story how it started, where they're in Mexico and they're discussing Ben, this mysterious guy we find out is Ben, and Mark, who we'll talk about later, and just how they had this interaction with the priest, and I was like, oh, this sounds awesome, this is going to be a lot of action, I know it is, and then it just became this really drawn out, long story, where in the beginning you're introduced to, like, 40 different characters, which... I get it. Like, he was trying to create that, like, whole entire small town atmosphere. You know a little bit of everyone's business.
Yeah.
I think that's what he was trying to do. And, like, what you mentioned before, that you're having a connection with the characters. So when they die, you're like, oh, wow.
Oh, wow. Oh, yeah. And there was a lot of death and non-death. I actually think I wrote in one of the margins, what the fuck is wrong with this town? Why are there so many deaths? I was like, this is too many.
Right.
But yeah. So you didn't like Susan. See, my thoughts on Susan were, I thought she was one of the braver women. Like, when you put her in that time frame, I thought she was pretty brave considering where they were coming from. But she was kind of bland in the movie, which we'll get to that at the end.
I think, like, her character was interesting. I'm not saying she wasn't valuable in any sort of way. Like, she clearly was part of Ben's life and was a major character, essentially. But I just think towards the end, they were just trying to get rid of her. Honestly, like, she played dumb. We'll get to that.
Oh, you thought she was playing dumb?
No, look. I'm just saying.
I thought she was like, because this is how I would be. Like, I have a huge imagination, and I feel like she does too, because she went to school for, like, English or something. But I thought maybe in her real life she was extremely rooted and grounded in the reality of her senses. And so when the team were trying to confront her with their, not even really findings, but trying to convince her that vampires are real in this really naturalistic environment, she was just like, no, I will not accept it. So you think she was playing dumb?
No, I'm not. I don't mean by playing dumb. I'm just saying, if you're showing up to a house that is the lair of the Vampire King, you don't show up with one crucifix.
Oh, you're right. Okay, you're right.
That's why I was like,
I feel
who does that? Are you kidding me? I'd show up with, like, I'd make myself a custom suit just full of crucifixes. I'd have holy water doused all over me.
Just for everyone else's references, Bridget just looked herself up and down and was imagining with her body and pushing like her hands down, like dressing herself like a D&D character
Yes.
or World of Warcraft.
I'm already planning
character.
it out. Bedazzled, rodeo suit. That's where you need to go. Country people are all got those crosses and crucifixes on their backs.
That's true.
That's what Susan needed. Stupid bitch.
Okay, so if Susan was not your favorite character, who was your favorite character and why?
I loved Mark. Mark Pierce, was that his name?
Petrie.
Oh, it started with a P. I loved him. I thought he was the bravest of all of them. Like, he took down a vampire all by himself, and it was his friend.
Oh yeah, that's true. I didn't even think about it. Being
Yeah.
like that emotional connection.
Mm-hmm.
Huh. Okay, yeah, my favorite was Mark Petrie.
Oh,
Yeah, I was like, I really hope Bridget's favorite character is not Mark Petrie, but I don't feel like there's any reason that any other character should be the favorite character. I feel like, and this could just be me and my imagination, but I feel like Stephen King wrote Mark as a way to deal with his own childhood. That may be getting a little too psyche, but it's kind of where I thought it was coming from. He wanted to make this brave character that he should have been when he was younger.
Oh, that's such a strong connection. I also think that this book could have just been about from Mark's perspective.
Oh, me
I think
too.
I would have loved it if it was, because he's just like, he's this young innocent boy who's kind of awkward. He doesn't have a lot of friends, and he's really into monsters. But I just didn't really understand the whole entire Ben aspect of it. And it's not that I didn't like Ben. I think he played a role in it, but I really loved Mark's story.
Mm-hmm.
I connected with Mark. Did you like anyone else? I have another character I liked.
Let's see. I think I was really interested in Matt.
Yes.
Just
oh my
because-
God! Stop stealing my people. I was just about to say that.
He was very brainy, and I kind of have like this appreciation for older men and women who just know things. Like, if I had to compare him, I would compare him to one of my professors in undergrad named Dr. Impson, who just knew everything about Shakespeare.
Yeah. But he was so, like, he's so wholesome, he's so down to earth, and he cares about everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And he's not selfish. Like, I mean, he let a guy stay in his guest room. Who was it? Mike, the last name we can never pronounce.
Mike Ryerson?
Ryerson, yeah. And he's like, let me take care of you.
Mm-hmm.
Which was adorable. Little Matt. Also, they changed his name in the movie.
Oh, the first movie,
But-
they changed his name.
Oh.
Which was really pointless. Like, they changed... We'll talk about that later.
Yeah, we'll get there. We have a lot to say about the movie because it was... who did you not like?
Who did I not like? Oh, that's hard to say, because even though Stephen King wrote a boring book on, like, town culture, small town culture, I actually enjoyed all of the characters.
Mm-hmm.
Like, on one hand, I appreciate the depth. On the other hand, I didn't appreciate the depth. That's as much as I can say about
Well,
it.
it's kind of like you could honestly skip 5 pages and be on track. You'd be like, oh, I know what's happening.
Yeah.
He's very detailed oriented, and he's a fabulous writer, don't get me wrong. But sometimes too much detail takes away from the story.
Oh, definitely. What was your... Sorry. What was your favorite moment?
My favorite moment? My favorite moment of the entire book was when Mark killed his friend.
Wait, which friend?
Ralphie? Was it Ralphie or Danny?
Oh.
I get those two characters mixed up. The brother. The older brother. He killed the older brother.
Wait, how... Okay, you're gonna have to refresh me on that one, because I guess I kind of skimmed past him killing his friend. Wait, what exactly happened?
No, so what happened was that Mark was in his room, and he was asleep, and then he heard... Well, the movie was kind of close to it. It was the part where I think it was not Ralphie, it was Danny. Who's older and who's younger?
It's Danny. Ralphie's the younger one.
Okay, so Danny was scratching at the door saying, Mark, let me in, I'm your friend. And he said no, and he actually invited him in at one point, opened the window, and I thought that was really weird. But he had his little toy crucifix ready, and he killed him.
Oh, you took it as him killing him? I thought he renounced his invitation. The cross was made out of plastic. The cross melted and stopped glowing, and then he fled back to his master.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know if he died or... No, he did flee. He didn't kill him, but he fled. And I thought it was the brave... And that's what made me go, this is the bravest character in the book.
Okay. So, he didn't die. Because I thought he was in the root cellar at the end.
Well, yeah, and then he also converted his mother.
Yeah.
So
okay, so he didn't die.
He didn't die.
But it was a really cool face-off.
Oh yeah, I loved it. It was like the first time when you had two characters, two different creatures essentially facing one another. Mm-hmm. It's just someone so pure and innocent and young versus like adults who are just terrified. Yeah. He was just... I loved Mark.
Well, okay. Mine kind of expounds upon that, I think, in that my favorite moment was when Ben, and I agree with you on the Mark thing. Mark should have been the main character, but I really liked the relationship between Ben and Mark and how that was developed and kind of became the impetus of the defense and the defeat of the enemy.
Yeah.
So there's this moment where Ben and Mark find this door to the root cellar, and they have the holy water, and then the holy water fails them. They find this axe. I think Ben douses the edge of the axe with the rest of the holy water, and then he starts slamming into the door, and the door starts breaking down like crazy. He's like, his hands are glowing, and the end of the axe is glowing, and you realize afterward, like, Ben's having this whole thought process of what's going to defeat the darkness, light's going to defeat the darkness, this whole idea of what faith actually is, not a faith in a Catholic church or a Baptist church or whatever church it is, but like a faith that comes from like a wholesome place. And I thought that it was very moving when Ben glowing, slashing the door to pieces, and he breaks through the door, and then all he says is, "I love you," to Mark. And that made me realize that the only thing that's going to defeat this fear, because the whole town is covered in like this fear, you can smell it, you can see it, you can taste it, you can hear it, like even in silence, the fear that overwhelms you before you're actually attacked by these vampires. But the only thing that overcomes the fear is love. And when he broke down the door and told the kid that he loved him, I was just like, he really means it, because that's where the faith is coming from. Defending this kid and protecting this kid.
Right.
So that was my favorite moment.
Oh, it was a precious moment, wasn't it? And it was like another moment where you're like, okay, I like reading this.
Yeah. I was like, so this is what it all builds up to. This is the best part.
Right.
Were there any moments where you were just like, what the fuck? Why did Stephen King write this? Did he have to put this part in there?
Oh, and once again, going back to Carrie and having like abusive mothers, there was at the beginning where Stephen King was breaking down the different neighbors and characters that live within Salem's Lot. I forget her name, but she had her baby Randall.
Oh no.
Oh my god. Did anybody else like deal with this where they just suddenly panicked? She's abusive and like hitting her kid, but he's still smiling and happy. Oh gosh. I will also say it made me laugh when Randy died.
No.
Yes, wait, can we have a moment of silence for Randy?
Yeah.
Can we say a few words? Because that poor precious baby.
Okay, you say a few words and we'll take a moment of silence.
Randall, if that's the name you choose. I think it's a terrible name. I've never met a good Randall. But anyway, Randall, I'm sorry that you lived such a short life with a terrible, horrible mother and a sadistic father in such a small little trailer home. I hope that up there in the big blue sky above us now, that you are surrounded by white fluffy clouds that don't punch you in the face or throw things at you, and that you also are blessed with an eternity of choco pudding. Amen. Silent. Moment of silence in honor of Randy. Hear, hear.
Okay, I'm done with that.
But can I say, like,
dang.
what made me laugh? Like, no joke. I laughed
tell
during
me.
the scene where the mom's like, Randy, no, you're awake, Randy. And, like, she sat him down. He's clearly dead and not moving. And she's, like, force-feeding him chocolate pudding. and there's this one part where his head is, like, off to the side. Imagine, like, a 2-year-old toddler, right? They got their fat arms, their fat legs, and their pudgy bellies, and sitting in, like, the high chair, head to the side, and just this mother shoves chocolate pudding into its mouth, and she's like, see, everything's okay. And this is what got me, when that pudding dripped out of his mouth.
Oh my god.
And hit the table. I loved that so much, but I also felt terrible.
Wow.
Yeah.
Funny enough,
Yes.
I chose that moment too.
Are you
Okay,
serious?
look, I wrote on page 73, that's where the big thing happens. I just wrote WTF exclamation point question mark because I literally had to pause after there. Well, it's not the same exact moment. Like, I'll read what the moment is, but she's talking about this death of this baby. I'm talking about the precursor to the death of this baby. So this mom is highly abusive. She's a young mom. She's left alone.
Sandy McDoigall.
McDougal.
Oh.
I think it's Irish. But she gets left at home with this kid. So I'm just gonna read some. She screams, "You shut up," when the baby is crying. He's in his crib, wailing and thrashing his arms. There's a red circle just below his hairline, and she had this horrid surge of gratification, pity, and hate in her throat. She plucks him out of the crib like a rag. "Shut up, shut up, shut up," she screams. She punches him twice. He's gasping in his crib. His face is purple, and she says, "I'm sorry. Jesus, Mary, and Joseph, I'm sorry. You okay, Randy? Just a minute. Mama's going to clean you up." She beats him, and then she's like, "Wow, I'm going to clean you up."
Yeah.
What? And then she says to herself, "I'll tell Roy," which is her husband, "he fell off the changing table. He'll believe that.
Yeah.
Oh, God, let him believe that." She beats her kid, and she's just like, "That's casual."
This is okay. I did she like she threw something at him and he fell back in his crib.
Yeah.
Poor Randy.
But that was my big moment. Like, how do you treat a... Like, I'm not even a father. I don't have kids, but I do have a niece. And I'm just like, how can you treat someone that depends on you that way? I was just... Who... I guess
Yeah.
I was
Well, no, it's just like I have a cactus and I wouldn't even treat it that way.
I would hope not. I'd prick you back.
Bring it back. Bring it. You can't move cactus.
Wow.
But that was a character. I don't love... But you know what? As much as we hate it, at least he was being raw and honest, because that is true. That does happen in communities. So it made the community even more real.
I don't even like thinking about that being a reality.
But it is.
Oh my god.
It's a reality, y'all. Do you want to talk about Ben?
Sure, let's talk about Ben. What do you want to say?
So, he's a writer.
Yeah.
He writes about interesting topics that a lot of the town didn't agree with.
Oh, right.
And you had something interesting to say about one of his books, that there's a lot of, like, innuendos. Well, like the prison.
Well, I thought it was interesting. Susan's mom, I can't remember, Nora?
Mrs. Norton.
No, okay,
We'll
sure,
just go.
we'll roll with it. I always forget the mom's names for some reason. But Susan's mom, Mrs. Norton? Yeah, Mrs. Norton. Confronts Susan and is like, "Have you read his books?" And Susan's like, "Yeah, I've read his books." And then her mom's like, "Well, did you know that there's rumors going around that he's writing about men with men? And it's in a prison setting. Do you think that's kosher? Do you like this?" And she's just like, Mom, he's writing about real things, which I thought was so interesting because Stephen King is writing this book at the time that he's writing this book. And those things are not talked about at that time, and they're really not even, like, talked about now. But there were other moments like that where Stephen King also, he's talking about pot's illegal, but I'm still going to do it, and I'm still going to try it. And I'm just thinking, I know so many people that are like that now, which I'm not going to say their names. I'll never say their names. But I know people who do that, and they know the legality of it in certain states. I just thought that the time that he's writing is very interesting because it's still here. Yeah. It's like things like that are still being talked about.
Yeah. But yeah, so Ben was left-winger. I don't know if Ben and Stephen King are kind of parallel in any way, but he was an okay character. I didn't find him to be like super strong. You're just following his story. And then the whole entire reason why he's coming back to Jerusalem's Lot was because when he was a young boy, in the Marston, he has this connection with the Marston house. He saw a dead body.
Yeah, I don't know if you read it this way, but when the book opened, because I didn't know it was about vampires when I first started reading it. I thought it was going to be a ghost story. I thought we were going to go to this house and all of these things were going to happen, and it was going to be terrifying. Because you look at the title, and the title, or the cover, is this house that's burning. And I'm thinking, oh, so to get rid of the ghosts and exorcise the house, he's going to burn the house down.
Yeah.
But that's not necessarily the case. Our friend Daniel actually spoiled it for me a little early on.
Thanks,
Daniel. That this is actually a vampire novel, and so then I had that in the back of my mind that it was vampires, and I was kind of over the whole ghost thing. But the way that Ben tells the story is the house is a ghost house, and he had this...
a beacon for evil.
Yeah, he had this experience when he was younger. A lot of kids actually did have this experience. There was a murder in this house, and then I know in the movies he's the one who finds the bodies, but I don't remember in the book. I don't think Ben was the one who found the bodies.
Well, no, he didn't find the bodies. And then there's another interesting thing about dead children being another... There are 4 dead children, but we only had 1 dead kid. Well, 2. I just got really confused by the whole entire, like, house being involved, ghosts, because I also thought it was going to be about ghosts. And then all of a sudden we're introduced with vampires.
Yeah.
Like, there's no connection.
Not really. The first part is all dedicated to this house. I think, let's use a phrase from Clue the movie. It was a red herring. And that's all I got.
Yeah.
I think it was just a distraction.
Yeah, there's just so many different things being thrown at you. But you kind of picked up on a lot of... I think he was throwing in a lot of, like, vampire hints.
Yeah.
Sucking the blood, anemia.
Yeah.
However you pronounce
anemia. Yeah, pernicious anemia.
Right.
Okay, so what was the most terrifying moment in the book for you?
The most terrifying? To be quite honest.
Yeah.
That's kind of tough because, again, with how detailed this book was, I got bored.
Oh.
I didn't get scared because I was like, I don't care. But, I will say if I had to choose, it'd be when Jimmy and Ben were in the morgue with the body. I forget who it was.
Oh, it was Danny's mom.
Yeah, Danny's mom. I liked that scene. It was kind of spooky.
She was fast.
Yeah.
I thought she was pretty fast and she was just like an animal.
And then when Jimmy got bit and he like took a pill and then he sprayed alcohol on his throat or his neck.
Yeah.
I thought that was really interesting and I wanted to dive more into that. I'm like, why isn't everybody else doing this?
Yeah. Well, he was a doctor. So do you want to... What are your theories on that? Because I have a theory on it.
Well, I think it's kind of like there's always this saying when you get bit by a snake, if you suck, like, don't do this, don't suck the venom out. But if you treat it quickly enough, you can stop it from spreading. And I think that's maybe what he did. But again, like, I don't know what medication he took. We never went into detail about that. Just that it was a pill.
Yeah.
And that he just cleaned the site. But that's the other weird thing, that usually if something bites you, hi, I am not a scientist. I do not take anything I say seriously, but I would imagine that if the thing is trying to bite you in the jugular, that it would travel through your cardiovascular system. So at that point, what's a little bit of alcohol going to do? Oh, you know what?
What?
Jimmy didn't get bit in the jugular vein. I think it was off a little bit, and that's why he didn't turn, because there was no source for the blood and the venom to travel, that it was just in one area. Because I remember saying that it was close to the vein.
Huh.
Or the artery. I don't know. One's away, one's towards.
Yeah, I actually don't remember the specifics, but I'm thinking about other vampire books that I've read, because let's be real,
Twilight?
our culture, our culture is based on, or at least when I was in high school, when I was in middle school, like when I was growing up, this whole burst of vampire culture like hit me hard, and like my friends hard, hit the movies hard, hit the books hard. But this was before all of that.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm reading Twilight. I'm reading the Sookie Stackhouse series. I'm watching the Twilight movies. I'm watching True Blood. I read this this other vampire novel series. I read all of the Mortal Instruments by Cassandra Clare. I was dedicated. Those are the only books that I have read twice. Like my whole mind was immersed in these different vampire lore. And some of them say that this is a demon infection. Like, part of your blood and your actual DNA converts into something demonic. And then other ones treat it, like in the Stephanie Meyer's books, treats it like a virus that infects your blood.
Right.
And so... And it like rips and tears you and changes you like at the core to where you become animalistic. So I'm thinking, in his mind as a doctor, he's like, oh, I can feel it in my blood, because he said he could feel it coursing through his veins and like creeping closer to his heart. If it strikes the heart, if I remember anything from Stephanie Meyer's, if it strikes the heart, it changes you.
Yeah.
And so I think he used like garlic. He pressed the cross against the wound. He did all of the doctorial things. Is doctorial a word? I don't know. He did all of the doctory things that he knew, and for the rest of the book, at least until he died, he didn't change.
No. But even you didn't have to change to feel the effects of the vampire. Because remember when Barlow looked at Mark in the eye?
Yeah.
And he was like, oh, I need to attack Ben.
Oh, yeah. So it was like, there's different vampire lore about what the eyes can do, and then there's other ideas that you have these super enhanced abilities depending on your own personality. So Mark was influenced. They get dreamy, they get hazy, they forget stuff. Like even in this book, when people are hypnotized, he never used the word hypnotism, but when people are hypnotized by vampires, they kind of forget that they have been. Like in the Sookie Stackhouse series and True Blood, they can be like, and you will not remember this conversation.
Yeah.
As soon as you turn away. And like, that's a thing.
Do you also notice like something that's interesting, that I think in his books, like the vampires aren't pretty. They're not beautiful.
You didn't think so?
Well, I don't think so.
Huh.
I didn't find them beautiful. Like I think they looked rejuvenated and back to like their norm, like what would be considered normal
like
and healthy. But it's what I'm trying to say is that how vampires are presented have changed throughout the years. Whereas like, you know, Twilight series, Vampire Diaries, everything is made to be like these sexual, beautiful, gorgeous, while Stephen King's making them seem like, no, they're just back to their like healthy selves.
See, because I remember one of the people who did, I think it was Jimmy. Jimmy said that when she was sucking his blood, he got aroused and got a boner.
But I think
like
it was...
turned him on.
Oh, yeah. But was it her presence or was it just the act?
Oh, no. When they sucked the blood, it definitely turned him on. Like, I remember thinking that. But I think it's interesting because I also remember... And okay, guys, to be fair, I'm probably just filtering it through every other vampire thing that I have ever read. But... which is our modern versions where they sparkle.
Yeah,
But
that's what
they
I'm
don't
thinking of.
sparkle in
I'm
this, they
thinking
just
of
have
like,
darkness.
well, no, I'm thinking like sexy, big,
Yeah.
blue, but it's just an attraction. There's a big difference.
Okay.
All I'm saying is that it's kind of interesting to see how vampires have changed decade to decade.
Yeah. Okay, so my most terrifying moment was when Mark locked eyes with the vampire in the end. Like you had
Yeah.
mentioned it. Like I'm sitting there, I'm reading this for me it's semi boring. I thought it was kind of interesting. But I'm reading this whole book and then I get to the part where Mark and Ben open the coffin where Barlow's just laying there because the sun hasn't gone down yet. So
Yeah.
he's defenseless. His eyes pop open and Ben's like, don't look at him in the eye. Mark looks him in the eye. So the same thing happened like where I couldn't breathe and I felt my heart slowing down in the first movie or first book when I was reading Carrie. The same thing happened where when Mark looked at the vampire and he was stunned, I laid in my bed frozen for like 5 seconds.
Really?
I think that I have like when I'm reading,
Yeah.
I'm becoming the characters for a second, and whatever is horrifying and whatever they're stuck in, I get stuck in.
You're
so
connecting.
I'm laying there for 5 seconds, like
Whoa.
frozen, terrified, staring at the page.
Really?
Because I'm like looking Barlow in the eyes.
That's great. That was a pretty intense scene.
Oh, okay. So let me just read the description of Barlow, because I'm still filtering through the Stephanie Meyer beauty thing, but here's the description of Barlow because you don't really see it until right before Mark looks him in the eye. It says, he was a young man now, his black hair vibrant and lustrous, flowing over the satin pillow at the head of his narrow apartment. Apartment? What does that even mean? Okay, anyways, his skin glowed with life. The cheeks were as ruddy as wine, his teeth curved out over his full lips, white with strong streaks of yellow like ivory. So I'm sitting there thinking, oh, Stephanie Meyer, hello, I see you stole the beauty from Barlow.
Are you serious? I didn't.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
I just thought it just meant he was alive. I don't pick up on cues at all.
You're like, oh, he was alive.
Cool.
Cool.
I have black hair. He has black hair. That's great.
Okay, so for this next bit, like those are all the questions I have. Do you have any other questions?
Were you bored with this book? Did you enjoy reading it?
I did enjoy reading it, and I talked to other people. Yeah, I talked to other people, well, specifically you, and I talked to Brittany, and I talked to my sister, and I talked to my friend Kelsey, and I talked to Kevin. The consensus seemed to be that the women and the females who are like listening to this, and I don't want to segregate it to sexuality and gender, but it seemed to be that the women were having a really hard time reading this book, and then the guys were just like eating it up.
That is interesting. I struggled with this. I did not look forward to reading it every night. I was like, I hate this book. I hate it so much. And it's too detailed. But why do you think that is, that men...
I don't know. Because I thought it was so detailed, like over detailed. I did think it was over detailed, but it almost made me like press into it more because I was like, I want to know why this nameless man and this nameless boy, who are obviously not related, he made that a very big point, like why we started where we started and where we were going with it.
Oh, okay.
So every time that Ben wasn't there, I'll be honest, I fell asleep a few times. Anytime that Ben wasn't there or Mark wasn't there, and it was all about these other townspeople, I was like falling asleep.
Yeah.
But then as soon as Ben and Mark like came
was
back
great.
on the pages, I was like, there, okay, cool,
Yeah.
I can press through this.
Yeah.
But yeah, I finished this and being like, well, I want another one.
No, we don't want another one. Please don't.
Okay, so there's a word on page 256.
Is it Jehoobies?
No, it's not Jubies. Can you please read this word that I have underlined? This is the bonus. I really just want her to read this word that I found.
Okay. Allamagoosalum.
That's I wanted. I just wanted to see you say the word.
Just like a little kid afraid of the alamoglusalum. What is an alamoglusalum?
I don't know. I never looked it up. I just really was entertained by
How
it.
about this? Readers out there, draw us and submit your version of an alagalusalum.
An amalagazulum. I can't say it. An alagazulum.
Anyway, we have no descriptors to give you other than that people are terrified of it. So, on our Facebook page, draw us a picture.
Of an alamagazulum.
And we'll
Oh, that one
decide.
came out right.
Oh my god, that sounded...
I don't know how I did it. I'm never doing it again.
That was like Planet Blue or whatever it is, Planet Earth. Hi. So draw it and then put it on the page. I'm being serious. I might do that.
I'm actually going to draw an alamagazulum. I did it again!
Yay! We just can't read the word off the page.
Okay.
Was that it? I was gonna, like, no joke, y'all. That was his little bit. I was gonna make him eat pudding like Randy.
Oh, wait, okay.
I wanted to recreate the scene.
Let's do it. The pudding is ready in the refrigerator. Let me go get their... Yeah, let's pause this. I'll go get the pudding.
Yes.
All right, we're back, and we both have bowls of choco pudding. So we're gonna do this little bit. You're only gonna hear it. I don't know how we're gonna do this, but...
Can we make the plop? I'm gonna turn the microphone for the plop. That's all I need.
You could just say plop.
No, I want you to make that pudding plop.
Okay.
Okay, so if you go to page 330, this is the scene that made me absolutely laugh. And the moment I read this, I thought, I am doing this to Justin.
Oh,
no,
God.
don't grab that spoon. I'm feeding you.
Damn.
Okay, so just to, like, set it up, Randy is pretty much a dead baby. He's a vampire now. And his mother has walked in. She's freaking out because Randy's dead. And, let's get started. I'm going to read it and we're going to reenact it.
Oh my god.
Are you ready? Randy, she said, smiling. Wake up now, Randy. Breakfast, Randy. Is Ooh hungry? Please, oh Jesus, please. She rolled away from him and pulled open the cabinets. She found a small jar of Gerber's chocolate custard and grabbed one of the plastic Dairy Queen spoons out of the dish strainer. Dish drainer. Look, Randy, your favorite. Wake up and see the nice custard. Choco, Randy. Choco. Wake up. Wake up for the love of God, you little shit. And then she pulled the cover off the jar of chocolate flavored custard. Her hand, which knew the truth already, was shaking so badly that most of it spilled. She pushed what was left between the small slack of lips, and more fell on the tray, making horrid popping sounds.
You missed my mouth.
Randy, stop fooling your mama. Her other hand stretched out. She pulled his mouth open with a hooked finger and pushed the rest of the custard.
Oh god.
Are you ready? Pushed the rest of the custard into his mouth. There, Sandy. Open your mouth. It's not ready to plop. We're not there yet. Open your mouth. No, you hold. Look me in the eye. You hold this in your mouth until we get to that scene. Open.
I can't. It has to stop. It's popping everywhere. It's on my face.
Anyway, shh. We're almost there.
Okay.
I'll put a little in your mouth. Open your mouth.
I'm dead.
Do you want me to use my fingers?
No. I fell and plopped again.
There, said Sandy McGoodigle. A small, indescribable something in cracked hope touched her lips. She settled back. Now it'd be all right. Now he would know she still loved him and would stop this cruel trickery. Good, she murmured. Chocka good, Wandy. We'll make a ma smile, mommy. I'm not good at baby talk at all. Lord. Anyway, the chocolate fell out onto the tray. Plop. She began to scream. Scream. Anyway.
That was very dramatic. And the choco pudding definitely fell 3 times and literally made a plop sound.
You're covered in chocolate.
I hate this. Why did I agree?
Well, look, so Daniel was supposed to be here, but we're not ready to have guests on
Oh my
the
God.
show, and I was gonna have him be my Randy.
It's on the floor.
Just look it up.
Ew.
Ew.
That does not look good.
They're gonna be like, what happened?
Okay, cool.
Anyway, that was our scene.
And now I can eat it, and it's all over my face.
Thank you for letting me do that.
Sure.
It's really good.
Mm.
So shall we talk about the movie?
Yeah, let's talk about the movie now. So, how did you feel about the movie? For the record, oh, that reminds me of a musical. For the record, I keep getting distracted by the musical in my head. Okay, so let's talk about the musical.
Mm-hmm. The musical?
Damn it!
Stop saying
I
that!
can't, I'm stuck on the
It
word.
was a movie.
Okay, so let's talk about the movie. For the record, Bridget and I watched the 1979 Salem's Lot. I guess it was a TV miniseries,
We
or
could find
it was
it.
a movie. I don't know. But I also ended up watching the 2004 miniseries / movie with Rob Lowe.
Oh, you did?
I did, yeah. I watched the whole thing. It was really good. But let's see. What did you think? Like, if you had to rank them, how would you rank them?
I only saw the movie. I couldn't watch the series.
Yeah, so did you like the book better, or did you like the movie better?
Oh, God. I guess I liked the movie better. No. I did not like the movie. I liked the book. Sorry. I got it mixed up. I hated the movie. It was just as slow as the book. So they got that.
They got that right.
They did not do very well casting. The guy that plays Ben looks like he's in his 40s, and Ben is supposed to be an early 20s kind of guy, right? He's like 24, young writer. This guy, not at all what I pictured. Susan, not who I pictured also. We liked Boom Boom Bonnie. We liked her. What they did that I thought was really smart is they combined characters. So I like that. But I did not like how they left out Dud, the rat killing hunchback of the dump. Because that was a major character. And like the first person that we actually saw converted by Barlow.
Oh, right, because Barlow appeared.
Yeah. We loved, and I'm saying we because we were both high-fiving, we loved Floyd. But in the movie, they changed his name to Ned.
Which was dumb.
Floyd was gorgeous, but we both agreed that he should have been Ben.
Yeah, Floyd should have been Ben, and Ben should have been Floyd.
100%. Floyd was tall, dark-haired, and looked good in jeans.
So, my ranking would be the book, then the 2004 version, and then the 1979 version. And I think you should watch the 2004 version because Rob Lowe just makes an amazing Ben. He's actually attractive. And all of the people were cast right. They did put Dud in.
Oh.
Dud's in there. They added an extra character so he had a love interest and then converted her. But they also, in the movie, did most of the plot in the right order. Because in the old version, they mixed things up and it didn't make sense with the timeline.
The spook scenes.
Nothing like, and then in the old one, Barlow didn't talk, which made him look like he was unintelligent. But Barlow's actually supposed to be very intelligent because he's old.
Yeah.
He didn't look like a vampire in the newer version. In like the traditional, he has blue skin and he's pointy and he looks lifeless and stuff like that. It actually kind of looked like he should have looked. So I really like that. Also, Straker didn't die right in the old one.
Yeah.
Mark was supposed to kill him. And in the new one, Mark did end up killing Straker, I'm pretty sure. He knocks him over the head like he did in the book. So I was really pleased with the 2004 version. So overall, what did you think about the book? If you had to rate it out of 10, what would you rate it and why?
I'd rate it a 5 out of 10. Because the reason I think that's kind of high. What? I think that's kind of high for what you probably would have thought I ranked it. The reason why I'm giving it 5 out of 10 is because the scenes that involved Ben were amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I loved those. But then about half the book that didn't involve Ben, I didn't really care for. So that's why I'm giving it 5 out of 10, because I don't care for the other half of the book. What would you rank it?
I would rate it 8.5 out of 10.
You're ranking it higher than Carrie?
Yes. And here's why.
Really?
Because Carrie, I thought lacked detail. But this one had so much detail, which is funny because I am knocking it down from a 9, which I would have given it, but he pressed too much detail in it. There was too much detail, and he made me fall asleep. But I also thought that it was a good introduction to a new book series if he ever wanted to create a book series where, in my mind, and I really want somebody to do this, where Mark and Ben go out as vampire hunters.
Oh, yeah.
So that's what I wrote at the end of my book, was like, this is a really good start to a Vampire Slayer series.
So you're saying supernatural /
Type, yeah.
Hansel and Gretel.
Buffy the Vampire Slayer, like that sort of thing, but in Stephen King's world. I wish that this was the introduction book to a whole series.
Yeah.
Then I could like see Ben and Mark going around the country, slaying all the vampires, and be really happy about that.
I feel like that's all that you could do after having, and like for Mark as being a kid and just that being, you killed people.
Yeah. Like,
That's all
what do you do for the rest of your life?
Well, yeah.
You
what
slay
do you do?
vampires.
Yeah, exactly. You were born to do that. All right. Well, overall, hated the book. You loved the book. I hope the next one's not as bad. Or for you, I hope it's a step up.
Yeah. So, guess we'll see you guys next time. Not see you, because we can't actually see you. Or can we? Who could say? But thank you guys for listening, and thank you again to Bobble for providing the intro and outro music.
And thank you for Daniel for spoiling the book.
Please don't do that ever again.
Bye.
Bye. Oh no, here we go again. Next time we follow the writing journey of Jack Torrance. He has a new job at the Overlook Hotel and is ready to restart his life and career. It's the off-season, but not for the dead. Join us in reading Stephen King's third novel, The Shining. Do not let the size of this book fool you.
To quote Justin, but it looks smaller. Well, it's called font size.
The Shining is 659 pages, just a little longer than Salem's Lot. Please be sure to get a copy of The Shining before we start Tuesday, October 22nd. Also visit our Facebook page for reading benchmarks.
Bye!
Bye.